Prismo Metals in the news recently. Prismo trades as PRIZ on the CSE in Canada, PMOMF on the OTCQB in the States. They completed a strategic investment with Vizsla Silver. We'll run through the details of that news and give us a little corporate update. We've got the co-founder. He also works for the capital markets for the company, Alain Lambert. Alain, appreciate you taking the time here. Another nice piece of news for the company here. It's starting to become pretty evident what's going on there with you and Vizsla Silver. So, yeah, I guess let's get into the latest news here for the company.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me. So, Prismo Metals was founded in 2019 by myself, our CEO, Craig Gibson, and one of our advisors and large shareholder, Dr. Peter McGaw. And we have two projects in Mexico. The first one is Palos Verdes, which is the topic of that strategic investment with Vizsla that we'll talk about some more here in a second, in the Panuco district. And we also have another project called Los Pavitos in Sonora State, which is a very large 5,300 hectare high-grade gold prospect.
Yeah, you're certainly in the right area there, in elephant country, as you will. So yeah, take us through here, current day here. You put together this deal with Vizsla. They've obviously had a tremendous amount of success in the last few years. Right on the tails there, right next door. Run us through how important this is.
Let me start by saying that actually Prismo got into the Panuco district as a public company before Mike Connor and his team assembled the rest of the Panuco district and created Vizsla Silver. So our CEO, Craig Gibson, had identified Palos Verdes, which has 750 meters of strike length. It has a vein throughout the property, and that was our core property when we took the company public. And then we became surrounded by Vizsla Silver. And as we know, they went from success to discovery, and other discoveries. And then we started thinking, well, what is Prismo's future all about? And what will we want to do with that property in the Panuco district? And from a pure engineering, mining standpoint, economic standpoint, it quickly appeared to us that there was a high likelihood that property would end up being owned by Vizsla at some point. So we entered into some discussions with them last year, and they obviously know the district very well. They know the district better than anyone, and we started looking at collaborating. And so we put together that strategic investment that closed last Friday. And there are really three important aspects to that deal. One is Vizsla invested $2 million into Prismo, which consists of $500,000 in cash and $1.5 million in Vizsla shares. And investors might say, well, what's Prismo going to do with these Vizsla shares? And people might say, well, it's a way to finance the company. That's not how we look at it. We look at 1.5 million shares of Vizsla as exposure to the future success of the Panuco district for our shareholders. And so that's the one aspect. The second aspect to that's important for that was part of the deal is that we granted Vizsla a right of first refusal on the purchase of the Palos Verdes property, which is, when you think about it, it's logical, right? So who would be the logical buyer? Yeah, I mean, we've been approached by people who wanted an exposure to the district, but we look at things strategically, and it made sense for us to give them the right of first refusal. And the third aspect, which we're going to hear about more in the coming weeks, is this technical committee that we're putting together. And the technical committee will be comprised of three people. One from Prismo, which is going to be our CEO, Craig Gibson, and one person from Vizsla, Jesus, who's their vice president of exploration, and a third person to be nominated by both Vizsla and Prismo. and we're currently talking to people about joining that technical committee, and that technical committee will be able to look at the district as a whole, right? And if you think about, as an example, our co-founder, Peter McGaw. Peter is known as sort of a big picture guy, right? He will look at geology, not, oh, here's one vein and, let's dabble in geometry, but let's look at a district as a whole and systematically maximize the exploration dollars through the district. So those are the three aspects of the significant transaction that we closed last Friday and announced yesterday morning.
Yeah, well, I'd say that's a pretty good piece of news here to build on. So what else is out there? What else? Give us, I guess, a look into 23 here. Certainly, the sector has opportunities here that the market's given. So for investors looking for something to really go here, what are your plans?
Well, timely, because I actually just had a call this morning with our team, including Greg, Peter, and our Director of Business Development, Alan Frame, this morning. So I'm really up to date on our priorities for this year. So if you look at the press release announcing the closing of the transaction with Vizsla, we also gave a bit of an update. So we have now drilled over 3,000 meters at the Palos Verdes property. But what's important to note is that only about 30% of the vein, that's 750 meters of the vein, has been explored. The reason being is that the environmental permit that we have now only allows us to drill off of existing infrastructure. We have applied for a new permit. We applied last year. We expect to get it shortly, and that will give us the ability to drill, to build new roads in order to drill 70% of the vein, which is everything from where we've been drilling going east, northeast. So the priority this year for the Palos Verdes is to receive the permit, which we hope to get very, very shortly. And then we'll be drilling again, probably at least another 2,000 meters in that section that hasn't been explored to date. But more significantly, we will be having this technical committee in place, and we'll be exploring that with a regional view, as opposed to just, let's go drill that one piece of the vein, but how does it make sense to explore what we have in the context of the overall district? And that approach is very consistent with what Vizsla has been doing. So if you go back to some of the recent press releases from Vizsla Silver, two things become clear. One is they continue to consolidate the district, and they also have two drilling rigs which they use for exploration. Right, so they're defining resources in the certain area of their property, and then they're doing exploration. So with their deal with us, so they're going to have a third drill to do exploration in the district, which is really, our drill, and we will be using at least the $500,000 of cash we received from them for that drilling program, and we also closed in late December a $3 million private placement, which was taken down by three institutions. All of them are shareholders of Vizsla as well. So we have more than the 2,000 meters. We have funds for more than 2,000 meters, if that's what the technical committee decides to do.
Well, if your uniforms may not look the same, but they look pretty dang close, I guess, with Vizsla. So it sounds like they do work, you do work. It's all working together here. Quite the interesting opportunity up there. Well, Lane, what else we have not covered today that I think is important for investors to maybe know as we move forward into a relatively, I think, solid metals market. I mean, I don't know how many CEOs 5, 6, 7 years ago, if they knew the prices, would be complaining right now where the metals are. We should be flying.
Well, the other thing that I should mention that's going to happen in 2023 with Prismo is that we will be drilling our other project, which is Los Pavitos, which is a gold prospect in Sonora State, which is 5,300 acres. So that prospect was assembled by Peter McGunn and Rafael Gallardo over many years, and it's got some great showings. We spent about $400,000 sampling, mapping, LiDAR survey last year. We've got all of that data that we are currently analyzing. We'll put boots on the ground again here shortly, probably next week, and probably before the end of next week, we'll be filing for a drilling permit for Los Pavitos. And so in Q2 of this year, we will be starting to drill that very, very large prospect. And I would say that that's a prospect that is some, from a geological standpoint, a size standpoint, is what has made people like Rafael Gallardo and Peter McGunn fairly well known and successful looking at these larger type district-wide prospects.
Okay, we'll certainly keep our eye on the wire for more. Looks like a lot of news in 23. It's Alain Lambert. He is the co-founder. He also works the capital markets for Prismo Metals, PRIZ, CSE in Canada, PMOMF, OTCQB in the States. Alain, appreciate you taking the time there. Look forward to certainly checking back in when you hit the wire again.
Thank you for having me, Rob.